Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show. And today I want to do a reaction video to an old After Prison Show video. I've done this a couple of times over the course of time. But I was thinking about getting back into telling my prison stories again, retelling them, remastering them for 2024. I'm pretty sure other channels have told their prison stories more than once. That's the interesting thing about After Prison Show. Maybe they haven't. I don't necessarily know. But it's interesting to think if they have. I most certainly have not. I have always kept it moving here. But again, it could be something that I do, trying to revisit my prison stories, tell them again. But I think the best way to do that would be to do that while reacting to the original videos, especially given the way that I talked with the prison accent, 6, 7, 8 years ago, just coming home from prison after doing 7 years, looking at the way that I looked, what was my haircut like. I've mentioned that I never get a good haircut, whatever. Anyway, so, I went all the way back to the beginning of time this morning. There's 1,700 videos on After Prison Show, 1,700 and some change. There's other channels out there that have been around for less time than me and have way more. Banky, for example. Man, Banky's got over 2,000 videos. That dude has been working and filming and getting some shit up. It's crazy to think that in however long that I've been doing this, you figure 2016, I first started doing all of this. 8 years I've been doing social media now. I've only got 1,700 and some change. But anyways, I went back to the beginning of time. I wanted to go back to the very first prison story that I ever told. And I wanted to react to that. That's what we're getting ready to do here today. Now, interesting to note, there's two videos back in these 2016 days. The first video, the first ever prison story video, wasn't even called a prison story. And in fact, what it was called was How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison. That's the video we're getting ready to react to. There's another video that would come shortly thereafter, which was the first video that I ever titled a prison story. Do you know what that video is? A little trivia here on After Prison Show. If you don't feel bad. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But interesting to note, both of those videos were bangers. And How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison got like 4.5 million views, whereas the first ever prison story that I ever filmed, I think it only got like 600,000 views. I say only. If After Prison Show was seeing those type of numbers today, well, we'd still be relevant. But nonetheless, hey, what do you say we go ahead and dive head first up into an old prison story here on After Prison Show? What could, in fact, possibly be, actually it is, the first ever prison story I ever made for social media. How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison. What do you say we go ahead and react to that video? Folks, if you're enjoying the content that I've been putting out as of late, I'd ask that you please leave a like and a comment, subscribe if you're not already, and make sure that you guys have bell notifications turned on. We upload videos and very rarely do many of our notifications go out. And I kind of feel like YouTube's been trying to sweep us under the rug. We're not going to let that happen. So make sure you guys got those bell notifications turned on. Anyways, let's go ahead and check out this video right here. How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison. This video was uploaded 7 years ago. I don't see the date that I uploaded this video. It's got 4.6 million views, 110,000 likes. I don't know if I've got a video that's got more than that in terms of likes. Maybe I do, but that's a shit ton of likes on a video. How many comments on this? 7,800 500 comments. Y'all remember that time when I did that live stream shouting out or responding to every single comment? There were like 5,000 comments on the video. I think I did that shit for like, I don't know, like at least 4 hours I was doing that live stream. The top comment from 7 years ago says, I once stepped on a Lego. That was horrible. That comment has 2,000 likes, 47 replies. Anyways, folks, what do you say we go ahead and skip this?
It's crazy to admit this.
Hold on, Joe. From Back to the Future, future to the back, back in time. It's like I time traveled here. If I could go back in time, that was a lot of confusing Matrix type of stuff right there. If I could go back in time and tell my former self right here in this video anything, it would be, Joe, don't never give up. Don't ever let the haters get to you, no matter the trials and tribulations. Just keep going. You can do it. Anyways, let's see what old Joe was sounding like in this first ever prison story video.
It's crazy to admit this, but literally, it was one of these, a prison-style tattoo machine, that helped me to survive prison.
Keep in mind, I had to build that machine prior to doing this video. So I'm working a concrete pouring job, coming home on my lunch break or on my break in between pours, you know, working 12, 16 hours a day, 6, 7 days a week, coming home, build this tattoo machine. I can't even remember where I got the motor for this thing at. Don't even know if this thing actually worked. This could have just been a prop prison tattoo gun for this video. Also, real quick, keep in mind, this is right when After Prison Show was just starting to become something. You can already see a little bit of the fan mail up on the wall right there. As time would progress and I would continue filming from this particular location in my second apartment after prison, that wall would be flooded with mail. But anyways, sorry for interrupting.
When I first arrived at prison, I was escorted off of the van, and the very first thing that the CO said to us was, you guys are lucky. We are just coming off of a 2-week lockdown because of an all-out gang war on the prison yard. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I remember that pretty vividly. Getting to that first prison, that receiving unit. Interesting enough, that was Mecklenburg, a level 1 through 5, a place that I went to twice. First time I was serving an 18-month prison sentence for a probation violation. It was a cakewalk during that first time. The second time was what I was talking about here in this video. And during that time, not so much. It was definitely a place that was on edge, high tension, a lot of gang activity taking place there. And like I had mentioned in this video, stepping off of the van, you know, the guard was telling us that we were lucky they were just coming off of lockdown for a gang war. Two other interesting points real quick about this place. Banky, Daryl Redman, and others have spoken of time at Mecklenburg back in the 90s and the late 80s and how this was the worst prison in the state of Virginia at the time. And here I was, little whippersnapper Joe, unbeknownst to any, I don't even know if that's the right way to use that, unaware of any of the prior history of what Mecklenburg used to be. They used to have death row there. And here I was, you know, green as a fish. I don't know if a fish is green. You know, fresh meat all day long at a place that used to be one of the most violent, one of the most violent prisons in the state of Virginia. How many countless prisoners lost their life there? I have no idea. But the other interesting fact to mention about this prison, it no longer exists. They flattened that place. I think they're getting ready to turn it into like some apartments or some shit.
Glad to be here. This should be interesting. I mean, here I am, lowly old me. My mind was consumed with thoughts of what this was going to be like. Imagine going to prison. What would you be thinking in that very moment when you arrive at this major compound, completely surrounded by gates and barbed wire fences, barbed wire on top of fences, barbed wire on the ground, guard towers everywhere? This prison was a receiving unit for prisoners being transitioned from jail to prison.
Couple of things to note real quick. Joe was a master storyteller out the gate. No ego about it, but I was pretty good at telling the stories. I could do so without the visuals, without the overlays, and I could get right to the point. I don't know where it got so twisted. And again, in this video, I'm just coming home from prison. This was in 2016. I just got released in October of 2015, so I hadn't even been home for a year yet. I still have a little bit of a prison accent, but I haven't transitioned yet into the game show host voice that I would end up with, that I think was so annoying. Not sure where it came from. I guess I was just trying to fit in on the internet. But yeah, I was doing pretty good sharing this story. And again, keep in mind, this is the first ever prison story I was ever telling.
In the state of Virginia, a receiving unit houses prisoners from level 1 to level 5. Level 5, of course, being the max, the worst of the worst. People with murder charges and rape charges and horrible, horrible people. And lowly old me, a level 1, here amongst all this chaos, just coming off of lockdown after 2 weeks for a gang war.
Okay, I hate to interject real quick, but I want to talk a little bit more about how I was putting these videos together. I want you to keep in mind that I had no real equipment filming these videos. Matter of fact, I still have the first camera that I ever started out filming YouTube videos with. It's a camcorder. You know how many times I thought about putting this thing up on eBay and auctioning this thing off? Some of the biggest videos on After Prison Show were filmed with this guy right here. Look at the spit still on the screen right there. The DNA still on the screen. Joe was hot to that money back in the day. Probably not even a good analogy to use. She's actually pissing people off that she's still relevant, the old Haktua girl. But this is the Canon Vixia with the 57 times zoom, the HD. Megapixels on this thing are probably like a 2. But this is where it all started from. And then also keep in mind the lighting. I didn't have any lights that you film with. I literally had one of those Walmart stand-up lights, you know, with the little thing on the top of it, sitting on a chair pointed at me, leaning over on a chair pointing at me. That's how I was lighting the videos. This is how I was filming the videos right here with this guy. So if the video looks well lit or well put together, well, that's the backstory of how I was doing that.
I'm envisioning all of the things I had seen on TV, world's most dangerous prisons, prison yard riots. And here I was, live in the flesh at a place where stuff like that really happens. As soon as I got to my cell block and
oh shit, I didn't want to click on the ad. Well, as I'm trying to get past this ad, a couple of things to note real quick. Joe's hair was looking pretty good in this. And also, boy, I was looking young, man. This is before the internet had whooped my ass entirely. Joe still had that prison glow. I was out here, man, living life, getting back to it, working, just enjoying life. It's funny, the thing that I say at the end of almost every video, make the most of every day, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. The whole enjoy life part has been such a struggle of mine since I've been released because of my constant stress factor trying to keep the social media thing going. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the truth.
as soon as I got to my cell block and I put my belongings inside of my cell, I came out and tried to mingle amongst whoever these individuals were.
All
Probably
killers.
the worst of the worst.
Yep.
Some of those I was being housed with now. Hey, how you doing? I'm Joe.
Real quick, I know I was getting ready to get to a little skit right there, but let me just go ahead and share the 2024 version of this. I remember that. I remember that vividly. I got to the cell block, got to the cell, put my shit away, and I came outside, and it was like an MS-13 dude, a Crip dude, a couple of blood dudes, like one or two white dudes strewn about, not really looking like they're about nothing, and kind of recognizing off the gate, man, shit's probably going to be tough in here. Also recognizing pretty quickly that even though there was a gang war that was taking place on the compound as a whole, up inside of the individual cell blocks, because the numbers were so limited, and because in this day and age, shit was just crazy in the prisons, it's way crazier now, certainly with dudes getting pearls and things like that. You know, because the numbers weren't exactly in favor of the gang members, they all had to group together in the housing unit to try to take control. When out on the rec yard, they were at war with each other. It was the biggest oxymoron I had ever seen in my life. All right, Joe, get back to that little reenaction you about to do right there. I'm always interrupting at the worst spot. Go ahead, Joe.
Individuals war. Probably the worst of the worst. Some of those I was being housed with now. Hey, how you doing? I'm Joe. It wasn't 10 minutes later when a group of 4 individuals approached me. 2 Crips, 1 Blood, 1 MS-13 member. These 4 individuals approached me and the very first thing they said was, "Hey, what's up, man? Just want to let you know, you got to pay to live here." This didn't even make sense to me. How is it 2 Crips, 1 Blood, 1 MS-13 member approaching me when just 2 weeks prior, there was a major gang war on the yard? But then
short of it is, these guys were approaching me in an effort to try to extort me, which would not happen, so to speak. I mean, I guess they kind of did, but not in the orthodox type of way.
Because you see, on the yard, they could be amongst their sets, clicked up with their groups. They had numbers on the yard and they were strong. But inside of the individual cell blocks, they didn't have those type of numbers, at least not in all of the cell blocks. So in the ones that they didn't have strong numbers in, where they could appear to be weak because they were outnumbered by other individuals, potentially non-gang members like myself, they could then become the targets. So it was best for them to click up to.
How crazy is that to think that, you know, had we been thinking about it, we could have easily taken these guys out. I mean, it was only like 4 of them. I also need to throw this in there too. When this happened at the time, you know, hindsight being 2020, I wasn't really thinking that I was being extorted or attempting to be extorted, right? I kind of just thought like these dudes were making conversation, as crazy as that may seem. Like, I didn't take it so serious then, if that makes sense. Because in my mind, I already knew I wasn't getting no money from the streets, you know, so I was going to be of no good to you. And then 2, I'm already coming in here with my hustle. I'm ready. I'm just coming out the jail. I'm ready to get me a machine and start tattooing. Even though I think at this point, I had never even used a tattoo machine, which is crazy enough to think. All I knew how to do was pick and poke. But Joe was going to fake it till I make it, and I was going to try to figure this damn thing out on the fly, legitimately in the middle of doing a tattoo. I remember once I did get the tattoo machine, like trying to practice with this thing on my leg, that actually had me more scared than anything. Basically going in here as a little bit of a fraud, telling people, yo, who wants the ink? Oh, yeah, I know how to use a machine. Just get me one. When in fact, I had no idea what to do with this thing once I got it in my hands. Now, also real quick, I want to mention about these 4 gang members, like 2 Crips, a Blood, and MS-13, or whichever way that went with those guys. I can't remember exactly what all of them were locked up for. I may not have even known what all of them were locked up for, but I do remember the MS-13 dude, young dude, skinny, somewhat, you know, maybe almost as tall as me, maybe a little bit taller than the rest of those guys, young dude. That dude had 80 years. I do remember that. So I knew for a fact that he ain't have shit to lose. In terms of like the Crip dudes and the Blood dudes, I think that they were probably more just, you know, really not even really about that life. But that's just looking back on the situation in hindsight. Sorry, let me get back to all of this.
These 4 individuals approached me and they said, "Hey, just want to let you know, you got to pay to live here." Well, I'm glad you bring that up because, see, that's a very awesome point that you do bring up. But I do need to tell you this. I don't have any money. In fact, I don't receive any money, and I'm pretty broke, so I'm not going to be able to pay you. They said, well, that's a problem because, you see, everybody who lives in this cell block here, they pay to stay here. Do you do anything? They said. I said, well, I'm glad.
They said that everybody in the cell block pays to stay there. I want to make this emphatically clear. It was not just the white dudes who were being attempted to be extorted. Like, however, it was not just the white dudes who were being extorted. I remember that there was an elderly black guy in the cell block with us who these guys were extorting. You want to talk about just some absolute scumbags the four of these guys were, and just absolute scumbags that are in prison in situations like this. Not everybody in prison is a scumbag, but you know, if you're doing this type of stuff, you're a scumbag.
And you bring up that point because it just so happens I like to do tattoos. As soon as I mentioned tattoos, these guys became what seemed to be my best friends. Oh my God, you do tattoos? That's awesome. We don't have anybody doing tattoos in this cell block. We need you in here. Matter of fact, hold on. You don't even have to pay to stay here. You can stay here for free. Just do some tattoos for us. Okay, I'll do some tattoos for you, I guess. I mean, what could
I didn't even realize it, but, you know, legitimately, I was still being extorted. I was being forced, essentially, to do free tattoo work on these guys. I will tell you this, though, and I don't know if I mentioned it in this video. I did make it a point, whenever I was doing tattoo work on these guys, to try to, boy, I want to say some really strong words right. I did make it a point to try to really screw these guys up with these tattoos, if you get my drift. I remember digging deep with these needles on these tattoo machines, trying to get that ink to lay. And I guess that was my way of, you know, really trying to stick it to them, so to speak. Had I been thinking any more of it, I probably would have taken it to a chemical tactical situation, you know, maybe dipping that needle in a little dookie, you know, taking this thing to a SEAL Team 6 type of a measure. What's that game that I like? Hitman. Oh, y'all trying to extort people? Shit, I run the tattoos. Hey, just come see me in my cell. I don't even got to put my shoes on to put the bung bung all over you, because I got the ding dong. I mean, I got the doo-doo all over this needle right here. Y'all extorting people? Yeah. Bzzz. How's that? That looks good? Good money. Not really sure how that would have all played out. You're probably thinking to yourself, Joe, if you were trying to screw these guys up, jack them up with this, you know, tattoo work that you were doing, what were you going to do when they saw how that turned out? Well, you know, it was always my hope and prayer, I guess, that I would end up getting transferred. Yeah, I didn't care, I guess. I was just under the assumption, shit, I probably won't even be here when those things heal. And if they tell me, hey, man, what's going on with my arm? Why does joint look like this? Right? Well, shit, we just got to do it again. I'm going to saw your whole arm off with these tattoos. If I couldn't beat them with the hands, well, damn it, I was going to beat them with the machine.
I was outnumbered 4-1, and had I even tried to attempt to mount some sort of a freaking stance against these dudes, in what was ultimately a no-win situation for me, let's just say hypothetically I was able to be Captain America, and I was able to kick the asses of all 4 of these individuals, well, I knew as soon as I went on the rec yard I was as good as dead. Yep. They would say, that's that white boy right there. That's that white boy right there that tried to fight us and beat us up. And then I would have not just one gang, but 3 different gangs. The Crips, the Bloods, and the MS-13s, probably looking to kill me. So it was because of thinking all of this that I had to go along with this. Sure, I'll do tattoos for you. They said, and you can make money in here too doing tattoos. We don't care. They extorted white guys, older individuals, yep, whether white or black, anybody who appeared to be weak. I guess I just give off that impression that I'm a weak guy. Well, I'm certainly not Captain America here. I hated these individuals for the shit that they were doing inside of this cell block. I mean, these guys were like scum of the earth to me. I wanted nothing to do with these individuals, but also I had to survive. So it was tattoos that I did for these individuals. They set me up with machines. They set me up with ink. They set me up with a place to tattoo. During this time of this gang war,
you know, there's a lot of cutscenes in this video. And I feel like I was getting ready to say something earlier about even if I was able to mount some sort of an attack, a takeover, the other people who were in this cell block with me weren't about that life neither. You know, these guys might have acted like they were, but then, oh yeah, these dudes ain't gonna do nothing to me, shit, which, you know, I'm trying to warn some of these guys, yo, hey, look, Just going to let you know, man, if you got any money, do not go to commissary. These dudes are going to try to get, man, ain't nobody going to do nothing to me. And sure as shit, they were doing exactly that to exactly them. Something. That's what they were doing. But yeah, so that was one thing that I wanted to mention right there. And then the other cut scene, I think I was probably getting ready to say something, or maybe I did and I just cut it out, saying something about really trying to jack these dudes up with these tattoos. But I don't know. I don't know.
There was a guy who tried to be the tough guy.
Oh, here we go. I'm talking about
They hit this guy with a combination lock in the side of his head and completely split his head open. And he laid there on the ground, bleeding, while the COs did nothing. Yeah. Because you see, the COs at this prison, they would disappear. They would be gone. And it would leave plenty of time for something violent to occur. And they would come back, clean up the mess. And
so speaking about the COs just disappearing, you know, I can't remember how this place was actually laid out, like on every floor, because you went into the building and then you go up the stairs, and on every floor you've got the hallway, and the hallway goes left, the hallway goes right. Maybe it goes like, maybe it's a three-way hallway. I can't remember. But I know that whichever way the hallways went, you had cell blocks at the end of those hallways. So you had one cell block and then another cell block, and in between the two cell blocks, you had one little guard station that was about as big as a phone booth, okay? And that guard was sitting in there to, watch over both housing units. But like I said, oftentimes the guards would disappear. You know, it's boring up in there for them. And, shit, they probably, maybe they're even getting paid to disappear. Hey, look, take a walk real quick, man. We got to do something. But, they probably go down to the other end of the hall, talk to the other guard, and vice versa. Maybe that guard leaves and comes down to our side. Or maybe they just leave in general, like, yo, I'm going to go outside and smoke a cigarette. I'll be back in a little bit. Like, I don't know exactly where they were going when they were disappearing, but they would. And during one of these times that they did, I witnessed this guy getting this freaking lock taken upside his head and splitting the whole side of his head open.
Though I couldn't fight these individuals because it was a no-win situation for me, I did try to do the only thing that I felt I could do, which was warn new individuals, new fresh meat coming into this cell block. Any chance that I got to pull them to the side and tell them, hey, look, I don't know what your situation is, but if you have any money and you are planning to buy commissary, don't do it in here. These guys are going to extort you. They're going to take everything from you. And I'll tell you time and time again, individuals would look at me and say, I'm not giving these guys shit. Fuck them. And it wouldn't be a day later or a week later whenever they were able to actually go to the store and order their commissaries, their little zoom-zooms and wham-whams, as we like to call them in prison. A little prison lingo for you. I should probably do a video on that. Prison lingo. Their ramen noodles and their little Debbie Hostess cakes, bags of chips, coffee. As soon as they brought that back into the cell block, and whenever the time was right, these individuals would strike. They would go right up into the cell and tell these individuals, you're giving us everything. And sometimes they would take more than just the commissary itself. I've seen individuals walk out of their actual cell without shoes on their feet. These guys would take everything. Meanwhile, I'm tattooing. That looks pretty good right there. You want another gang tattoo? Okay, let's put that on your eyeball. Yeah, right there. Oh, you want?
Yeah, I did try to warn a few people coming up in there. And the crazy thing is nobody listened to me and everybody thought that they were TTG. But when it came down to the come down, none of these guys were built like that. And some of them looked like they were built like that. Like I said, the title of this video is How Tattooing Saved My Life in Prison. And, I think to myself, what would I have been doing had I not been tattooing? Actually, something I probably don't really want to think about. Jesus, Joe, if you can't afford to pay these guys to stay in this housing unit, would I have been forced to stand up? Because I damn sure weren't going to lay down. You never know. Thank God I didn't have to find out, and it was through tattooing that saved my life, especially initially when I got to prison.
Want this one on your forehead? Okay, what do you want it to say? F the police? Okay, cool, hold on. Yeah, you're never going to get a job. I don't feel good about this story at all. In fact, I feel like this is a pretty embarrassing and degrading story to tell you. But one thing about After Prison Show, the stuff here is as real as it gets.
Oh, say that
I was
again.
No Billy Badass while I was in prison, but I was smart enough to figure out the best way to survive. Luckily enough, it was tattooing. The moral of this story is this. I went through what seemed like hell on earth. Walking to the chow hall, having to not make eye contact with individuals, but literally having to watch their hands instead to make sure that they didn't have a weapon held in their hands ready to strike at any minute.
Yeah, that walk to the chow hall was serious at Mecklenburg. It was a high stress situation. You had, and it looked like a pack of Skittles out on the boulevard too. Every building, there were like 5, 6, 7 different buildings there. Every building, you had different jumpsuit colors. You had maroon, you had tan, you had yellow, you had green, you had red. Actually, you didn't have red. You didn't have red, and you did have blue. That's the craziest damn thing about it. You did have blue. You had light blue. And I'm pretty sure red was the whole. You know, I wanted to remember that at this prison, they didn't have red and blue because of those significance with gang colors. But I can remember that they definitely had blue there. So if they had blue, they probably had red.
But I survived it. And because I survived it, I feel like if I can survive that, I can survive anything. You may have never been to prison in your life. You may not know much about prison at all. Maybe what you know of prison, you're learning here on After Prison Show or through other TV programs.
How crazy is it that I said maybe what you're learning of prison if you've never been there is from After Prison Show? Shit, just doing the video recently with the guy Patrick, he said that exactly. But I said you're either learning it from here on After Prison Show or from TV shows. Because again, keep in mind, back during the time of this, 7 years ago, the prison genre was not that extensive at all. It was me, Fresh Out, and Cali Muscle, which at this time I probably didn't even know of Cali Muscle, and I probably only knew very little of Fresh Out. So it's crazy just to think that in the 7 years since this video came out, that the prison genre has exploded onto the scene.
You consider very difficult times in your own life. And just like how I survived prison, and I'm here now, able to speak to all of you, telling you that because of this impossible time that I went through, I feel like I can accomplish anything. Think about the tough times that you've been through yourself. And use those tough times as fuel. Use that negativity to fuel the fire that burns inside of you to make something positive happen. Make something great for yourself, whatever it is. Because see, you don't want to live that bullshit lifestyle that I was living that led me to have to go through all of that. See, it took me 26 years to realize this was not what I wanted to do. Prison and this whole bullshit life.
Joe was like the white David Goggins at this point. I'm trying to motivate you. I'm listening to me from 7 years ago getting remotivated. Like, okay, Joe, talk that shit. I'm also thinking, when exactly did my outro come? And I'm wondering if it was in this particular video that I devised the outro that's been ever since for After Prison Show. We're about to find out. This video's almost over.
This was not what I wanted to do. It took me getting to this place where people were being taken for everything, where individuals were being cut and stabbed and hit with locks to realize, oh shit, I need to make some changes in my life because this is not for me. You have been through tough times in your life as well, and realize that because of those tough times that you have gotten past, you have the capability inside yourself to do whatever you want to do, to achieve whatever you want to achieve. Skipper making his guest appearance, saying hello.
Cat.
Say hello, Skipper.
Oh man.
Skipper says hello.
That's
no matter whatever it is that you face, you have the power inside of yourself to get past that. If I can get past what I got past and be able to be here in front of all of you right now, able to do these videos, able to have this awesome channel After Prison Show with all of you awesome supporters out there taking the time to watch these videos,
Skipper was
you can accomplish anything. From me and Skipper to all of you out there, I really don't know how to wrap this up.
I didn't have the outro.
He's not giving me anything.
I didn't have the outro.
Hey, look, that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you got something from this. If you did, please leave a like and a comment down below. Let me know exactly what you think. And until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace.
Did I just make that up right there? Hold on. on. Was this the very first video that featured the outro? I don't know. That joint just came on so smooth it almost makes me feel like it's not the very first video. I'm going to have to do some research on that. I think I did pretty damn good telling that story, given that was the first ever prison story that I was sharing, even before the first ever prison story that I actually labeled a prison story. Damn, man, that is a trip down memory lane right there, to see how motivated and how full of life I was, and then to look at myself now and realize and think, gosh almighty, Joe, if you would have just kept up that passion, that energy, that fire, that desire. So it sounded like a Metallica song. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that what I desire. Sorry. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace! Ain't much changed 7 years later, and we still hitting that joint right on the money.